You're listening to Brainwork Framework, a business and marketing podcast, brought to you by focus-biz.com.
Today's episode features an incredible entrepreneur. She's the founder of Studio T Arts and Entertainment. Miss T, or Tamaira Sandifer, has mentored over 880,000 youth nationwide and has garnered recognition as the Forbes Culture 50 Champion and Woman of the Year. Studio T Arts is dedicated to empowering youth and families through arts, media, and entrepreneurship programs that impact economic justice and mental health, creating a sustained difference for underserved and trauma-impacted youth. Miss T, thanks so much for joining us. How are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Absolutely. Yes, this is always a great time to chat with amazing people. We always like to ask, tell us about your entrepreneurial journey. What were you doing before? And tell us all about the amazing things that you're doing today.
Well, I've been an entrepreneur for as long as I can remember. I think I started my first entrepreneurial experience when I was maybe 9, 10, 11, with a paper route, which turned into 2 routes, which turned into 3 routes, and me bringing along friends and having them help me for large bags of Skittles. So I've been doing this for quite some time. Of course, my paper route has turned into things like resume writing services, event planning. I did have a wedding photography and videography business that I did exceptionally well in, which turned into Studio T Arts and Entertainment. Also, my entire life from the age of 7, teaching hip hop dance has always been my thing. But I was told for many years that you can't make money doing that. So I don't know if I was just wanting to prove people wrong. So I said, let me see if I can do it. And so that's birthed the remarkable mechanism called Studio T Arts, which encompasses just about every entrepreneurial experience that I tried singularly. It's all under the auspice of this one brand and spreading like wildfire across the country.
That is so exciting. So you're basically helping other people become entrepreneurs, no matter the industry, what they're trying to get into. You're here to mentor and kind of give them this leg up to get them further in their journey.
Yeah, absolutely. It started with hip hop dance. It was I donated or just gave it away, volunteered for many years because I didn't the idea that you can't make money doing this thing that you absolutely in love was something that was entrenched in me. So I started teaching at a park. I had a handful of kids that just kind of needed something positive to stay engaged in. Had $5 in my pocket and a little boom box, and I just started teaching hip hop. And over one week, it's 4 kids. The next week, it's 6 kids. The next week, it's 8 kids. And it just kept growing. So I found myself after several months in the park, about 70 kids. And I said to myself, I think I'm on to something. And so I did what everybody else in the culture does. I bought a building and I started a dance studio with zero experience, zero knowledge, so that I could successfully work with these kids. I was teaching during the summer. It was hot and I knew that wasn't healthy for them. And I will offer that was a very hard thing that I did. The 401k that I had built when I was a network engineer for the phone company, I got a real job. I was told to get a real job. But with that real job, I was able to save some money. And so I took that and I started Studio T. And when you start working with young people, especially kids today, they're so knowledgeable and so gifted and multifaceted by way of talent that there wasn't an avenue for them to take because they had the potential to take multiple avenues. And most the young people that we work with, they just didn't know what to do with it. So I coupled with the creative training in dance and media and things like that. I coupled that with entrepreneurship. And I started to see some outcomes in communities where we were losing kids to third-party homicide, teen pregnancy, the drug and alcohol abuse, and then a darker predator presented itself in 2011 for my young people, and that was suicide. So the percentages of those occurrences in specific communities, Black, brown communities that were impoverished, under-resourced, underserved, and technology starved, we started losing those kids. And so the challenge for us became, how do we help them develop in a way that they can produce for themselves? Because a lot of them were entering into some pretty unsavory activity, but that's because they were in survival mode. And so I learned very quickly that you can take your talent plus entrepreneurship and turn it into something that completely shifts the trajectory of your life, your lifestyle, and the people around you. So I've just been really determined, and my team and I have been really determined about mass producing that in a way that causes a cultural shift across the country.
That is so incredible to hear. I have always thought in the back of my mind, a lot of the reasons we see the low income communities, poverty, it's just that there isn't enough really great opportunity that's available, whether it's the resources, the knowledge, the mentorship. They just don't know it's an option and a possibility. As you
Absolutely.
mentioned, a lot of us are told to get these regular 9 to 5 jobs.
Mhm.
And sometimes that's either a really great paying, it can be solid for us, or there's kind of feels like we're itching for something more. And I think that's where the entrepreneurship comes in. And you've demonstrated that you can almost go in any direction and make something
Absolutely.
for yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think you can monetize anything. I really believe that. And I think sometimes when you tell somebody to get a real job or get a job, you don't always consider the other barriers that they have to deal with. Again, I work densely with trauma informed and lower income families. So when you say get a job, they have to also consider things like transportation. They have to also consider things most often it's a single parent household. So okay, I can get a job, but then I can't raise my kids. And so none of these are the fault of any one person. It just is what it is. And it repeats, it's cyclic, so it repeats generationally. So now you're not dealing with a problem that just kind of presented itself. You're dealing with a multi-generational systemic issue. So how do you interrupt that stuff? You empower people to produce for themselves. And that's what entrepreneurship does. Okay, a single mom may not be able to go and clock in and clock out of an office, but she can braid hair. She can make meals. She can make jewelry. She can do a t-shirt printing. She can make merch. So there's a lot of things that you can do at home now by way of entrepreneurship that a lot of people and add technology to that. Get them a computer and get them a camera. The game changes, totally and completely changes. So I think the more that we think in the vein of entrepreneurship and how it empowers people to produce for themselves, that's when you start to see whole communities shift for the better. Crime rate goes down, kids tagging and vandalizing buildings go down, how they show up at school and how participatory they are in school and how happy they are to be lending to the school experience. All of that changes when they have the confidence that comes with the fact that I can do something good and it's helping me and my family.
Absolutely. And I think now more than ever in 2024, great opportunity for anyone. You mentioned a computer and a camera, even just a smartphone. Getting started with just your smartphone can be
Yep,
just enough. You see content creators out there, whether it's on
yep,
TikTok or Instagram, they're out there creating content, making sometimes a full time job. They're making millions
yep.
sometimes. They're getting brand endorsements. The game is really changing now
It
with
has.
capitalism, entrepreneurship, and just the opportunity. Obviously things shift and change all the time, but it's exciting to see that and to have these opportunities and the fact that you're willing to teach it to others. So is this like a community hub? Is this a resource center? You're doing so many things.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out, like, are they all together? Are they separate? Like, it's under the umbrella, but it seems like you would do a lot of different things.
Yeah, well, that's a great question. So I recently bought our headquarters in Sacramento, California, but we service every community from the top of California to the bottom and across the country. I built 44,000 square foot facilities. It's a collection of 4 buildings. Essentially, I bought an entire city block, but I bought it in a community where people challenge the idea that people can do and build good business because people don't have the money to pay for services or things that you hear. People don't have the resources or the ability to participate in something as robust as what you're offering, T. But I challenge that idea with technology and how the cultural climate has shifted. And I think that those shifts don't just happen. I think people make those shifts happen by showing up and doing something so anti-normal, so anti-culture, so anti-tradition that it causes a shift to happen. Like a nuclear bomb would change everything in the community, the state, the city, the country that it explodes on. How you think will change because that nuclear bomb went off. So I think if we're not showing up in a way as entrepreneurs to do something dynamic and explosive, things won't change. And I think that's what entrepreneurs bring to the table. So you look at any entrepreneur, a Steve Jobs, a Walt Disney. Yes, those are huge corporations now, but they didn't start that way. It started as somebody that just wanted to do something so ridiculously disruptive that it caused a ripple that's still rippling through time because they showed up and they did something that someone said, well, no, you can't do that. And so when you talk about how are we doing this, We're doing this under the auspice of a building. Yes. And in that building, we have anywhere from podcast studios, multiple, which I'm shooting from now. We have dance studios. We have beat making studios. We have our DJ Academy has a whole DJ room where you can drop in and scratch and mix and hone your craft. And then we have educators. The DJing for us culturally, that's just a part of the whole hip hop thing. So you break in or you DJ in and it's the style. So you got to make the clothes to go with the stuff because you can't show up looking raggedy and think that you're going to win the B-boy battle because the first thing they're going to talk about is what's wrong with your shoes. So it's a whole collection of things that make up the hip hop culture, but it's under this one umbrella. So you can invade any one of those avenues or multiples of those avenues and build your brand. And that's the whole goal behind having something that houses all of those things. And then we make sure that we have plenty of event space, because what's the good of you being a really dope DJ, but you're a dope DJ in your den at home? Like, okay, nobody knows about it. And then having the ability to broadcast what you do. That has been the ultimate game changer for a lot of our talent, is having the ability to not just capture, but share out their gifts and talents. And that's how a lot of our kids have gotten opportunities. So you think you can dance, or you think you can dance winner. We have kids that tour, train, travel with the best of the best in the entertainment industry, from Jennifer Lopez, Britney Spears, Beyonce. The list is very, very long. Drake, Usher, Rihanna. These are the things that our kids have done, but they couldn't do those things until the right casting director saw them. And they only saw them because they were broadcasting videos on YouTube. And so again, making sure that they have a place where they could come that's not their bathroom. I mean, now that's kind of a fun thing to watch, but it's not their bathroom if you're looking for professional opportunities. Creating something that houses the multiple facets of entertainment and your ability to create that under one roof. They can go from one room to get one part done, the next room to get another part done, next room to get another part done, and then put on a show so that that whomever is watching them as a creative can see that they have the ability to draw a crowd, which is another big deal. But how do we do it? This is really our first. And so we're testing and proving concept. And as long as this works, then we'll pop campuses up across the country.
It's catching fire already, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it catch fire across the United States and even globally, to see this movement come together. And something that you mentioned earlier is just the shifts in cultural
Sure,
norms,
sure.
how people are interacting, what they appreciate. It seems that there's a shift to go away from kind of the mainstream news media, some of the well produced videos, and go towards more genuine, authentic, smaller creators or news sources.
Um,
People are voting with their dollars too, and it's really an exciting time. It's almost like a secret revolution that's happening. We're just like, I don't want to play with those big corporations anymore. Let me go with the
Sure.
small, medium-sized businesses.
Or I want to deal with real people that are doing real things. I'm
Yes.
finding more of the narrative that I'm sensing and seeing in the next 3 or 4 generations. We're done with the looks good, smells good, not good. We want the, I don't care if it don't look well packaged, but what you're saying is right. You have evidence that shows what you're saying is right and it's good. So I think people are getting smarter with their dollars, and they're not investing them in things that are not really producing. And I think that people are also becoming problem solvers with their resources and with their intelligence and with their creativity. So before you would say, okay, here's the problem, who's going to fix it? And you look to leadership of some kind. I think people are getting smarter and more courageous in how they're showing up in the world. And they're actually being willing to solve the problems themselves and say, here's how we're going to do it. And then they bring their network into the problem solving process. So to me, it's a marvelous shift watching people be brave.
It is so incredible to see this shift, and I'm excited to watch it happen in real time and almost be a small part of it, because I also want to support and help bring each other up in ways that I can. So I'm trying to pay it forward, just like other mentors have done for me in the past, and share that knowledge, tips and tricks, so
Yeah.
people don't have to struggle as much, and just help the next generation get ahead a little bit more. All the artists that you mentioned with the hip hop dancing, I often play many of those artists
Hmm.
at weddings because they throw out
Oh,
hits. Those are the
yeah.
bangers. That's what people love to dance to. And one of the groups that you helped,
Yeah.
the Jabberwockies, I watched them 15 years ago on the
Mm.
MTV dance show. I was so entrenched with them. I
Okay.
was so
Okay.
impressed with the Jabberwockies, the style, what they did. That was the masked dance group, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
so great. It was incredible.
Yeah. So again, group of young men Many of them all come from challenged backgrounds, but you would never know it because they maintain an ambiguity because they don't want it to be about them. They want it to be about the gift and the talent. So these are kids that would be in the studio. First studio, I didn't even have AC. They didn't care. No air conditioning. They'd be in there sweating and working and trying. And they beat the odds. And I think every time we think about them, every time they come home, and one young man in particular, his name is Michael. He was one of my original, first generation of dance student. And I remember the fight to get him to stick into the dance realm. There was gangs, and the tussle for him was great. So I'm 5'4", and I tell people all the time, I'm tall on the inside. I'm scrappy and I'm tall on the inside, but I'm fighting the gangs to keep this. You can't have this one. So I'm pulling, and we're both pulling. And one of his buddies, they're in and out of juvenile hall, which I do go into the juvenile hall so that we can make sure that we are offering stuff so that the kids, they come out and they stay out. But going back and forth to the hall, and we lost one of his friends. He was 16 years old, and he was positioned at a fork in the road, and he got so teased. Like, he was so teased about him doing the dance thing. That's a girl thing back in the day. Now it's a money thing, and no one laughs about it. So anyhow, the fight for him was great, but him staying in the dance thing is what gave him the opportunity to work with a group like the Jabberwockies and all those boys, similar backgrounds. So now, because of the fight that they pioneered something great. And I never take credit for my kids and their talent and their hard work, but celebrating them pioneering something new, especially for men, like young men. It was a big deal what they were doing for young men, because dance is a creative discipline. It's heavily populated with young ladies until hip hop, until breaking. And so anyhow, it really became a saving grace for a lot of our young men. And then when you use entrepreneurship and you turn it into an international brand, which it is, there's still a headlining show in one of the entertainment meccas of the world, Las Vegas. And they're all coming from poverty to 6-7-figure incomes regularly, paying it forward. You talk about paying it forward. Those boys come back here and pull in not just young men, but young ladies into the Jabberwocky experience and brand. It's a remarkable thing what they've done. And so whenever, again, I'm grateful that you brought that up, but the fight for who they've become. And I think that's where you can sometimes lose people, is sometimes they quit right before the moment of breakthrough. And so when you have a Studio T, a Miss T, or someone from our staff that's willing to say, yeah, I know it's hot in here, but you got to keep going. Or, Miss T, we don't have plane ticket money. Here you go, baby. Or, there's 12 of us and we don't have plane ticket money. Okay, we're renting a bus. But you got somebody that's with you, that's willing to be an incubator, a coach, a guide, a push across that finish line. It makes all the difference in the world. And those boys have surely allowed that. And so many others have allowed us to do that for them. And I think what keeps us going and keeps us strong is that we know that there's always the opportunity to do that again and again every day.
I love that. Because you've worked with so many entrepreneurs and aspiring business people and creative arts, are there certain qualities that you've seen across the board in many of these young individuals, the ones who become successful? What do you
Sure.
think it takes?
They want a better life. They don't want to live the life that they're living. And so when you think there are no options, then you start entertaining options like suicide. You start entertaining options like other coping mechanisms so that you don't have to deal with reality. And then a lot of our young people, it's multi-generational depression. It's multi-generational difficulty. It's systemic lack of opportunity that happened to their parents and their grandparents and their great-grandparents. So at some point in the generational line, there's one that says, I want better. And I don't want better just for me. I want better for my family. A lot of the kids that we've helped, a lot of the kids that have really broken through the ceiling and done more, they've all come back and pulled their families forward. And I think the great catalyst most often for the ones that achieve wildly, when you talk about success, are the ones that want better for them and their families and their children. They're trying to break a generational curse, if you will. And that becomes the force that forces them forward.
That is really incredible. Now, it's because you are your own entrepreneur as well, I'm sure many other business owners out there who are listening to this right now are feeling inspired and they may want to take action. What should other business owners and entrepreneurs around the US and the globe, how could they also give back? How can they support your mission, your idea, whether it's directly or indirectly? Should they start their own mentorship program? Should they give to a local charity? What should they do to kind of help solve the same issues that you're solving?
That's a great question, Chris. That's a really great question. And I think that if more people ask those sorts of questions, it increases the efficacy and the impact of people of the work that people like us are doing. So what I suggest when people ask me that question is one, you can always give. And I know people think money and money is a good thing to give because things do cost. We buy shoes and all food and we help people keep their lights on. So the money helps, but you can also give your time. I can't hug every kid, but if there's 20 T's with the heart to serve, that's willing to hold a hand, that's willing to make a check-in call, that's willing to guide somebody through their assignment so that they can pass math. We always need the gift of time. And then mentorship. If you figured something out, I think I'm of the belief that if you figured something out to the point where you've been able to master it so that you can monetize it, then you have a responsibility to share that. And so if you have a gift and a talent, you should be considering mentorship. I promise you, there are organizations like ours all over the world. Find the one that's fit for you and show up, be present. And when I started doing my volunteer work, I volunteered in churches, community centers, after school program, urban housing development, the projects, anywhere they would let me volunteer, I just showed up. And sometimes I wasn't teaching dance. Sometimes I was just picking up trash. Sometimes I was just wiping noses and walking little ones to the bathroom and back to their class. Sometimes I was just talking to the parents in the parking lot who ran out of gas, encouraging them. So again, your presence in the essence sometimes is the best gift. It's the best way to give. And I'm noticing societally that we're separated for a while and we're trying to figure out how to get back together. And it's a little awkward. There's some clumsiness that's happening with people, but your presence is vitally important. And I think wherever your heart is, your money follows. So get your heart into something and start channeling resources into it. And again, we're here and we're doing the work. I mean, we serve in excess of 192,000 youth nationally across the school year. So we're always in need of love and support and advocacy. I do a great deal, with our local government, our state government, and national government by way of shaping policy that supports the people who don't have the ability to give their voice to an issue or need something fixed in their community. So I do a lot of advocacy work, but even becoming a voice for the voiceless, I find that there's power in that kind of vocal presence, which is why we have media, and I teach media so that we can keep communicating in a way that the people who are making the decisions that govern our lives know that we need them and we need change. And so I suggest, number one, volunteer. Number two, start channeling your resources where your dollars are going to do some real work. StudioT.org, studiotarts.org. There's a way to donate. And then be an advocate. If you think what we're doing programmatically is effective and helpful, tell somebody about it. They may have a kid who needs what we have to give them. And those are the majors. I think people organically know what to do. So the ultimate suggestion is be brave and step out and know that your little part lends to the big part, which makes the big difference. So do something, but doing nothing is nothing.
I love that. Now, through your journey in entrepreneurship, would there be something you would tell your younger self, something that you feel might be helpful for other business owners or entrepreneurs who are kind of getting their first start?
Yeah. What you're seeing is right. That thing that you see in your dreams, that thing that just keeps coming up in you over and over again, that thing that your instincts keep telling you take a step toward, you're right. And my advice would be go. When you
There is.
hesitate, you lose. Don't hesitate.
Yes.
Thing is correct. Go.
Yes, many people need to take action. They get really excited about a concept or an idea. Maybe it's late at night. They're thinking, tomorrow I'm going to start. You just got to start today. Take those action steps to move forward. And eventually you will start to see results from the efforts that you're putting out there. Now, Miss T, tell me more what you're excited for to wrap up 2024 or 2025. You're hitting the ground running. You have a lot of projects going, but is there anything new or exciting you're about to launch or thinking of launching?
Yeah, of course. So I just launched my podcast. It's the Sweet Tea Time podcast. So I do have a podcast and I'm very excited about that. My staff has been very strongly encouraging me to do it. I'm like, I can't. They said, you can. I said, I can't. They said, you must. And so I did it. We also have our film festival in honor of one of our young men that we lost last year to suicide. His name is Sean Maloba. So Maloba Fest is this month. And we also have a very fun experience. It's an inside out experience. Typically, when you go to a dance concert or a show, you sit and watch. Well, this one you don't. You walk through it. You're a part of it. You navigate it. And that's our 90s fresh experience. And it's all 90s hip hop and R&B. And it's so amazing and fun. And audience members are actually physically a part of it. And that's in October. And we're going to land the year with what we do during the holiday season, just because it's great. It's very necessary. We do our 12 days of giving. And so that's anywhere from Christmas gifts to bills being paid. And these are just little things that we do by way of our social service. And so we like to highlight the fact that there's always giving to be done in November and December. And that doesn't include any of things like all of our school campuses that we work with, our students that we service. We're activating all of that. We do winter camps, spring camps, all the sorts of things. So by the time we land 2024, we will have serviced thousands in multiple cities. We will have had a presence on 5 different continents of the planet. We all are learning different languages. We will have purchased an entire block and revitalized and enhanced 44,000 square feet of creative space. So by the time we land this year, I would also offer that there's quite a bit of celebrating to be done just because of what we've done this year. So we'll probably have a party.
Well deserved. You are having so much impact. You have a lot of ambition. You're helping a lot of people, which is incredible to see. We'll have links available down in the show notes and the description for those who want to get connected and give back, produce more, and help their community. Miss T, any last words of wisdom you want to impart to our community here?
Certainly, anything's possible. And I think that sometimes that's a question. I think people reduce what they have the ability and capacity to do on how much money they have or how much schooling they have. I was a single mom raising 3 kids on welfare, uh, going to school full time while I was building a company, and I graduated with honors. My kids are all college graduates. I have an enterprise that's spanning the globe, and I didn't have I only had a high school degree and what I could find when I would sit in Barnes and Noble and read the books because I couldn't afford to buy them. So I'm saying anything is possible. If I can do what I've done with this short part of my life, then certainly you can do anything that you set your mind to, anything that you see in your dreams, anything when you close your eyes at night and say, I wish I could have this lifestyle. I'm telling you, you can do it. Anything is possible. And as soon as you start adopting the belief that I can, you can look at other people and see what they can do. But as soon as you start adopting that I can, that's when everything in your universe will shift. So my advice to you is go for it. What are you waiting for? Why are you on the planet if you're not going to go for it?
I love it. Tamaira Sandifer, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your journey and your tips and tricks with us. Appreciate, so excited for the future for you and celebrate all the success and impact you've had with people around the world. So we appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chris. That was fun. I know it was going to be fun. Thank you so much.
Of course, my pleasure. Incredible to see what you're doing. Please keep up the great work. Thank you so much for what you do.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Thank you.